Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic, Coaching and Healing, and Magic School. I'm joined today with Treasa Moran. Treasa is a financial advisor and founder of Anchor Point Wealth Advisors. Treasa is focused on providing comprehensive financial planning and investment solutions for her clients across all dimensions of our lives: financial, spiritual, emotional. She is passionate about integrating the role psychology plays in our decision-making within her practice. Treasa has a special interest in working with women to help them gain financial and emotional control over their lives. Prior to founding Anchor Point Wealth Advisors, Treasa worked as a financial advisor with Morgan Stanley Wealth Management. Treasa's career in the financial services industry spans over 2 decades. Her experience includes working with institutional clients in various client service and business development roles with firms including Institutional Capital, UBS Global Asset Management, Deutsche Asset Management, and Vanguard. Treasa actively gives back to the community. She served as president of Women Investment Professionals and currently serves on the board of directors of the Julia Center, Our Lady of Victory Missionary Sisters Community Support Trust, and committee member of the Lilac Tree. Treasa and her husband Michael reside in Chicago, and in their spare time they enjoy traveling and entertaining family and friends. Treasa, welcome.
Thanks, Amy. Great to be here today.
How long did we meet now?
You know what? It was at a 1871 International Women's Day then, and it was pre-COVID, so probably 5 or 6 years.
And then I think I invited you on to a panel or a talk of some sort inside my women's employee resource group at Discover, which I left almost 3 years ago.
Yeah. I
Wow.
know.
And you've been my financial advisor both at Morgan Stanley and when Unlock the Magic makes its first million, you are the person that I'll be working with forever on my financial wellness. So it's good to have you. And I think it's always important to not only talk about finances and women and how it gets to be part of the conversation and life, but also spiritually, emotionally. And I want to dive into all the things with you. But first, I want to ask you, why is money cool?
Yeah, it is. I was reflecting on this, and money is really empowering, especially for women. And I got into this business through undergrad, like the money and banking class that led to understanding financial markets. And it was the first time I'd ever heard about the stock market. And what I'll say is that personally, in my family of origin, my dad was the breadwinner. He was an attorney, and my mom raised 5 of us. I'm the oldest of 5 girls. She was a homemaker. And from an early age, I learned that money represented control, my father controlling the purse strings, if you will. And, my mom didn't have that money voice. And so things in this business, money is all about emotions and how it impacts our psychology and the subconscious. And I think, at a young age, I recognized that I wanted to have more control over money and found a career in this field. But it does represent power, and it can also be used for good. But, I think money can also be a source of anxiety for a lot of us, depending where we're coming from.
One of the things I personally believe is that when we put money in the hands of women, that is how we're actually creating the new existence that we all deserve.
I love it. Yes.
That's how I personally feel. And that's where I work, whether it's with my clients or my peers. When money exchanges hands amongst women, something shifts in the collective, and then it's an energetic exchange toward humanity of some sort. I've met a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, and they feel some sort of a guilt around taking money for their services. And what's interesting about me, I haven't had that. I'm a very in tune, spiritual, energetic person, coach, healer, and I absolutely deserve to be compensated for my unique gifts and brilliance. So I haven't quite run into that. I don't know whether that's because I did spend 20 years in corporate. Maybe that part of me is kind of like balanced. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. And it is interesting, as you're in a healing or coaching profession, that you recognize the importance of money in your life. What I say is it is very common. Brad Klontz is a leader in the behavioral finance field, and he talks about these money scripts that we all have, and they are our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes that we hold about money. And they operate at a subconscious level. For me, one money script has been, if you work hard, success will follow. And that came from my parents, seeing my dad work hard and money did flow. We did live in a scarce home. He did have an abundant mindset himself, but, money scripts, they can lead to positive or negative scripts. And so this, I don't deserve money, or money is unimportant, those are ones that we see oftentimes for some of the spiritually inclined folks, right? You're doing something for a greater good. What I would say is shedding some light and doing some awareness work, really helps to identify what your own scripts have, how they show up, and so with clients that I work with, we'll go through and look at, what is your relationship with money? What was money like growing up? What was that history? And for you, Amy, you have a healthy, I deserve it mindset. And I think that's
how I
awesome.
earn a living. That's how that's how I earn a living. And
yeah.
What's interesting is that I've actually spoken with some of my past clients about this, and they're like, you know what? The depth of work that you do, you actually charge way less than what we accomplish together. I'm like, thanks for saying that. Especially, I feel like it was my first client that invested in my largest coaching package. And afterward, she said, I feel like I owe you more. And I was like,
Wow.
oh no, you don't. This is part of the energetic exchange. And we created this match together. And I say that because I have, of course, and I don't know how other entrepreneurs feel about this, but I have an investment structure, so to speak, within my services. And when someone comes to me and it is an energetic match, intuitively, I know we're meant to work together. I will ask them to share very transparent feedback about the investment structure and what feels like a full-bodied yes. Is there a number with that? Because if I feel that connection, and depending on where I am in my business, and this will depend on any part of the year or how it's going, but I will be able to be flexible for that individual, and I will feel called to share that if I'm able.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what I would garner to say about you and your relationship with money, I think it goes even deeper than, what the money script is. And what I truly believe is that when we are clear about who we are and what our purpose is in life and what our soul's calling is, that we are able to operate from a place of abundance and be in the zone, and abundance flows more easily. So I think because energetically you've gotten there, whatever scripts you had, you've navigated through them.
I'm so proud of myself. I mean, ironically, when I was at Discover and met you, I was in a lack, fear, scarcity. And
Yeah.
I was earning that paycheck every 2 weeks, which is so wild. And that's not the case now, right? Like as an entrepreneur, you don't really know when your next money is coming in. But I almost think that detaching from that schedule actually helped in my healing, because that is what's so fucking gorgeous about entrepreneurship, is that in a second, everything can flip. And it's because of the energy, or as I like to say, the lighthouse that you put out into the world, and those people are shown back to you. They find you like a lighthouse. I mean, it's just so brilliant. It's so beautiful. And I find that to be fascinating, that back in my corporate job, I was so much more in the lack,
Yeah, I mean, I also, before I branched out on my own, I had a successful career in the institutional side of the business where you get paid high salaries, and back in the day, you dress up in a suit jacket every day.
Oh, yeah.
You go downtown. And, it was an interesting career. It was very stimulating being surrounded by smart people and, all the things. But I can't say that it had the meaning at all of what I'm doing now. And, for me, and I think for most people, our careers are not this trajectory, a straight line up. I mean, they're very wiggly.
And I feel that especially for women right now, as we're facing 1 million women this year that will be ousted from the workplace, that wanting to climb up, especially from Gen Z and now millennials. Like we're like, no, no, thank you.
Yeah. And I think you have to be smart about it, right? I mean, economically, and I'm a watcher of Shark Tank, and they'll always say, Damon John talks about he didn't leave his restaurant job until, money was more secure. And so there's nothing wrong with doing many side hustles to keep the income going in, or, to be hustling on the side while you have that corporate job, right? And then, you make those decisions. And I remember we talked
Yeah.
about it with you, and, whether it's paying, you may have to take money out of retirement accounts to get you started, and that's okay. But I think for me it was getting clear about, it was actually a layoff, like so many are going through today in the environment, that caused me to pause, work with a coach. And she said to me, I think you've been working in a Zen garden and you really crave the flowers. It was a cool metaphor. And because I hit that wall of going on interview after interview for my same high paying job, that I opened myself up to, maybe the universe is pointing me in a new direction. And I use the Oprah example a lot when I talk about her own experience. And actually, I have the quote here, but I do talks for folks that are in job search. And Oprah, I'll just read this to you, but one of my greatest lessons have been to fully understand what looks like a dark patch in the quest for success is the universe pointing you in a new direction. Anything can be a miracle, blessing, and opportunity if you choose to see it that way. Had I not been demoted from my 6 o'clock anchor post in Baltimore, the talk show gig would never have happened when it did. When you can see obstacles for what they truly are, you have faith in the path it takes you to get you where you want to go. Who you're meant to be evolves from where you are right now. So learning to appreciate your best lessons, mistakes, and setbacks as stepping stones to the future is a clear sign you're moving in the right direction. And just another ad, what was interesting, I heard Oprah on her podcast recently talk about this Baltimore job, and how there was actually somebody that she talked to and said it was one of these individuals that just had a premonition for her. He said, I think you're going to be influencing many, many, many millions of people someday. And she was like, in Baltimore? He's like, I don't know where, but you're going to be an influencer. And anyway, when she got that gig in Chicago, we all know what happened from there. So yeah, so for me, I had to be more self-reflective, and the universe did open up. I went on an interview in the Wealth Management Channel, and it was a lot of middle-aged white men. And I just said, well, where are the women? Why aren't there more women? I have all this knowledge and experience and background in the field. I could be doing this. I'd be great at this. And so there I went on the path.
I feel like in this time and space, organizations are actually getting extremely unabashed and unapologetic about the fact that they don't want women. And it's like the current climate is allowing for that. And I engage a lot on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out most of the time. And a lot of people's answers are like, well, just start working for yourself. Yes, maybe. And maybe you don't want to. So it's not just, I don't think it's a blanketed answer that everybody just goes out and starts their own gig, but similar to you, oh my gosh. I mean, I've never known entrepreneurship. I did not have one single example of what this could look like in life. And I just only knew corporate, and like you go to school and you get a job. Although I did hear recently that my great grandma, oh my gosh, back in like the 50s, maybe 50s or 60s, she was like the local seamstress, and she had a kind of a biz. I'm like, whoa, okay, Grace. Her name's Grace. Gracie, come on in and show me what's up. Show me how to do this. I forget about that now that I just said that, so I'm going to call on her more often. But I was that person where I will always share with everyone, the moment that you're feeling in the workplace that you're being taken down, ousted, abused, that your mental health, that anything because of your job, anything outside of work never feels good, which is where I'd gotten to. Listen, I'm not suggesting everyone do what I did, but it got to the point where I had a one last straw moment and I said, today's my last day, no notice, and I burnt that bridge. And you were my financial advisor at that time, I ended up closing out my 401k to not only stay afloat, but feel okay in life after it honestly has taken this long for me to heal from that 20 years and probably longer than that because I grew up in a domestic violence home. The first 40 years of my life was based in a nervous system that was hypervigilant, always watching her back, never feeling safe, always feeling less than. And I turned 40 and I was like, fuck this. Like, no
Yeah.
more. And money, again, I'm so grateful that I had that 401k as a cushion. Not everyone does. And I have a partner that has
Hmm.
income. I'm privileged in a lot of ways. Not everybody can do that. So it just gets to be an and. I don't feel I could leave right now without anything lined up because of the way my life is going. And at the same time, be so acutely aware. And this is where I'll plug myself. If you are experiencing a workplace abuse situation, please work with me. I've not only been there, but I also help you to show up as your best self in those interviews because unfortunately what happens, again, this is me, I would show up at these interviews as that person that was being abused in the workplace and not showing up as my powerhouse
Hmm.
self. And so again, it just helps to have an ally to not only understand what you're experiencing and how to show up in the
Hmm.
places that not only it's not only for them, it's for you. It's for you to own who you are in that fullest expression and to get that job or get that next opportunity that you truly deserve.
Yeah, and congrats, Amy, on what you did because it takes a lot of gumption and I've gone through different experiences in my own life, some on the personal, whether it's a breakup that leaves you flat on your face or work environments that are shitty. I had a really great experience leaving one job where I just knew, and you'll appreciate this, I pulled out an Oracle card and it said time to quit. And
Yay!
so, or time to
Time
go
to,
was what it
time to
read.
go.
And, I knew it intuitively. And, and I just marched in and said, it's over. I'm leaving. I left a team environment. It was still at the same company, but it felt extremely, extremely empowering. And yeah, I think it takes time. And for those that are out there, struggling with big decisions, it takes time to be self-reflective, but, listening to your gut does know if you're feeling crappy every day, if you're feeling lousy, journaling can help, look for the signs from the universe that are pointing you somewhere else. You get an inkling to attend that session that's on, empowerment, whatever it is, a book pops into your head, just listen to the signs and then you'll be led. And for folks on the financial side, some practical steps I'd say, looking at expenses, the best way to build wealth is spending less than we make and saving. And, we have control over our spending. We obviously have two types of expenses that we, follow fixed expenses and then variable. Fixed are going to be the mortgage, your utilities, your phone bill, the car, things that you have to pay every month. Discretionary expenses are those that are going to be more flexible. And, for those that are working and unhappy in a job, look at your expenses and start trimming back and, getting ahead. It really is about sacrificing, it's hard work that gets us there. It's sacrifice. The road to entrepreneurship is long and it's not easy, but it's built brick by brick and, you put in the work. And if you have the passion to do, once you find that passion, it doesn't feel like work, which is the wonderful thing.
That's my favorite metric every day is that I feel good.
Yeah.
That's
What can you put the price on that?
a lot of people say peace of mind. I'll say peace of heart. There's so much
Yeah, I love it.
there's so much that we get to explore, not just being your own boss, not just being able to log off when you want to, not just being able to set your own schedule, not just being able to earn a living using your own unique brilliance. It's how you feel in your body and in your life every day. And one of the things I think is interesting is that when I was in that lack mindset, scarcity mindset in corporate, I was always wanting more stuff. And so I was spending a lot of money on stuff. And it was
Mm.
in an effort to fill that, whatever I was trying to fill. And it's interesting, the more that I've turned inward, the less outward stuff I need. Now, with that said, I'm extremely grateful that my home, everything's put together and decored and all of that because we've had it for about a little over a decade. I'm very grateful in that. But I used to be on Amazon all day, every day, getting stuff. And it
Mhm.
was like a high. I don't feel called to do that anymore. It's like I feel like I've detached from that a little bit.
That's awesome too. And and it's so interesting. And I was at a medical conference celebrating women in medicine, work with physicians on their money as well, as a group, female physicians. And there's so many overlaps between health and wealth and spending and different addictions. And I think it stems from, yeah, like you said, often a place of lack. But I'll give a plug to another book that I think is great, The Psychology of Money. It's by Morgan Housel, and he has another new book out. I'll read this quote: past a certain level of income, what you need is just what sits below your ego. And so, are we caring about what other people think? When we're true about what it is that fulfills us, the spending on the things, like you said, it does go away. And this isn't an easy,
Mm-mm.
path to get to. It takes a lot of work, but it really is true that it's extremely empowering to save, but you can't see it, right? At least at first. It's going to be going into that bank account. You might have to sacrifice a bit. But what it does allow for is freedom, and freedom of time to make decisions of where do I want to put my time, where do I want to put my energy, and, being empowered to have the money to travel, to do the things that, give money to the charities you want to give to. So yeah, you hit on so many things with that. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your own path, but it is extremely fulfilling, as you've been saying, if you can get to, again, it's getting to, at a core level, who am I? Why am I here? What is my calling? And sharing that with the world. The money will flow much more easily in your life when you go through that process.
And it's not an overnight process. It's not just sitting down and being like, okay, I'm, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna let it flow. I'm just gonna be cool about it. It's fine. Well, that's your brain trying to override your energetic systems. If you're familiar with the chakras, your truth center is actually anywhere from your sacral or solar plexus or heart. So like your heart, gut, or pelvic region. And again, I invite you to come work with me to figure out which one is your truth center. That's actually where you check in, especially from a money standpoint. You could check in with your sacral chakra and say, do I truly believe that I deserve money? Is that a yes or a no? You should be able to feel it. Or is it in your solar plexus or your gut? The solar plexus could be something like, I trust myself to earn money in this life, and check in and see how that feels. And then with your heart, I love that I'm creating the life that I deserve. I mean, it could be just a variation of those three questions in each one of those centers to find out what your truth in your body really is, because that won't lie. Our brain can easily override anything. It's about helping your brain to work with your energy
Mhm.
centers, not to override them, because the conditioning, and that's what lives in our brain.
Yeah, and I love that you're into this, Amy, and that's probably why we connect. But there are a few folks out there that I've found that have done the money connection to the chakras. One is this man, George Kinder, and I'm following. He has a life planning designation that I've started the process on, which is wonderful. And it really just ties in what's important to us in our life and how money is part of that. And he's a very liberal, interesting, man that grew up in the accounting world and just found these other things. So his 7 stages of money maturity book ties into chakras, which, is interesting and talks about all this. So
Y'all,
it's out there,
y'all, if you
you
think
gotta
it's
find it, but
if you think it's woo woo,
yeah.
there was just an article published this morning that science was actually able to prove that when we're living, we glow a little bit. That's our auras. That's our energy.
Hmm.
Like that's real. So science just proved it. If you need science, science is catching up to what we already know in the quantum field. So
Yeah.
if you can, by any degree, set aside your judgment or conditioning around woo woo, witchcraft, whatever it is for you, and consider that everything is energy, energy is everything. When you understand that, ooh, you can start to feel in your body where it might be blocked. And that's actually the invitation to move some energy in there and start moving the way that you were meant to move here as a soul, having a human experience, not a human, only human, right? That's not, I mean, I feel like that's a lot of where people get stuck is that they're like, oh, there's nothing beyond human. Okay, well, then that's going to be a little bit challenging when you go to navigate, especially this time and place where we're being asked to actually dig inward. One of the things that I offer for women, especially, is a womb healing. Because in that womb, in our sacral chakra, that's actually where we hold all trauma, not only from our lived experience, but from our mom, grandma, and great grandma. So we hold the lineage there. There could be something there that you don't even know is there that's blocking and you don't even know. And as a human, you might be saying like, wow, why can't I get X? Why do I get stuck when I try to do X? That's the invitation. So seeking out someone who understands energetics and helps you move that is how you start to understand where you're being blocked and why.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It does. In my work as well, we use the term holistic, maybe sometimes overuse it, but yeah, it's integrated mind, body, spirit.
Mhm.
I don't think you can really look at one without the other. And, the neat thing is, to your point, I think more professionals, entrepreneurs in the healthcare space and others, they're connecting these dots. There's a lot more acceptance of these things, and as science can help us to some degree with proofs, but the reality is in how somebody feels, right, and how they're living their life. And it does take work to go on these journeys, but there's folks that are closer to retirement that I'm working with. It can be scary. What does life mean? And I'd say the good thing is you can do this work right at any stage. I think you work with folks in different stages, and so do I. You're gonna wake up when you wake up, right? Sometimes it's younger, sometimes it's midlife, it could be older, but I think it's the tools that you offer individuals, or I offer, you meet people where they are, and awareness really is that first step of awakening, to prompt somebody to start wanting to work with me or work with you. It's often an event that triggers it.
It is. And I've actually leaned so much more into my spiritual life coaching element. That's not to say I don't offer career coaching, professional coaching, and I find that the energetic match, if you are spiritually open, is so gorgeous of where we can take that. And some people that I serve, they're like, I had no idea you were spiritual because again, I meet them where it's not about my agenda. It's about yours and like what
Mhm.
you're able to experience on a given basis and what you're feeling that you want to get to. So, Tressa, what moves are you excited to be making right now? What's coming up?
I mentioned that I think I see other fields, and healthcare is one I'm excited about, just, connecting with other professionals in that field. And, I am Gen X, and, whether it's going through health changes, menopause, caring for aging parents, inheriting money from parents, so I think for me, it's building more alliances and services with other professionals that are in those types of fields. And also coaching, I see a huge need in folks that are really in that retirement stage, highly successful individuals, women, that what does the next chapter mean? And some people go through different careers that are very successful in one path, right? They may not have had as the layoffs and changes that others of us had, or entrepreneurship, but what is the meaning of life when that changes? So, doing this life planning work that incorporates financial planning, but also life planning, I'm really excited about.
Very cool. It's interesting. We should probably collab at some point on that, because I find a lot of women, and I'll speak for my mother, when she went to go to retire, she had a complete psychological breakdown. I don't share that to scare anybody. She literally has never, ever, 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 ever felt safe in both her own skin, but also what she was meant to do or be or feel here. And so that will unfortunately be her story the rest of her years. And I feel like there's this dual opportunity for women. Don't wait until it's like the year of retirement. Start working with someone like me and with Treasa, a little team, to help you with that transition. I find that especially boomer women, and maybe ex-women as well, because I feel like ex-women were the first generation that were asked to not only bear the brunt of the entire home, but also maybe raise children and have a full-time job.
Yeah.
So there's going to be different variations of how the generations meet retirement. So I highly, highly recommend to get your team in place so that you can feel like your best self once you do leave that 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing to earn a living, because it can feel like the bottom falls out. And that did happen for my mom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for my mother, and my mom passed away recently, but she was a talented artist and a teacher by training, and just extremely loving and a beautiful presence. And she, I think, once the caregiving years, her kids, her mom, her uncle, once that went away, I think there was a bit of soul searching for what was the meaning in her life. And, unfortunately, she did have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol for a period. She was able to get out of that, but, that's it's a common scapegoat, and yeah, it just, it impacts women, what the meaning is. And yeah, I guess, I'm taking my mom along with me for this journey, is in the new dimension of, helping empower others when they get that awareness, make healthy choices.
I'm not ever suggesting that all humanity isn't on the forefront of creating the new paradigm of feeling into our best selves. And I also know that women are on the forefront of that, because we're finally at a place where, I mean, if you follow astrological happenings this year, everybody's DNA has literally gotten upgraded this year to be more into that existing being space and bringing back forward your soul mission. And innately, because women tend to be able to tap into that easier, that's why we're pioneering it for a lot of other humans right now. And interestingly, the other reason why we're both on the forefront, but also on the fever pitch of crash out, is because this day-to-day life was created for a man's 24-hour production cycle, not a woman's 28-day cycle. And it's just different. And that's where we're crashing out, because it was never designed with us in mind. So it gets to be this intersection, this time and place where you get to discern who are you when you feel your favorite self? Where are you? What are you doing? Who's around? And then feel more into how you can create more of that for yourself. Nothing has to happen today. It's just starting to consider how you can create that for yourself so that you can be on the forefront of this new paradigm. Treasa, is there anything that chaps your cheeks right now? I mean, there could be a lot, right? But is there something that's on your heart that you'd like to kind of put out there as a stop it?
I guess if there's anything, it's probably just to be more self-reflective about their money, and just be a little bit more mindful. I think it could go a long way. It could increase savings, decrease the stress you feel when you're putting things on your credit card and then you can't pay it. So it's just a little more mindfulness around money, I think could go a long way.
Thank you for that. And I would just echo that in a way, not that any of us are in charge of anyone else's cosmic conscious awakening, but also, like I said, our DNA has been getting upgraded. So when you feel that twitch inside of you that you're like, ugh, what is going on in this world, in this life? How do I make sense of everything? Why do I feel icky about things that I felt okay about just a year ago? I don't get it. What's going on? That's the invitation. That is your soul coming up to be like, do your work. Step out of the copy paste. And it's not easy. It's not fun. It can be really hard. And life becomes magical when you do your work and you're able to see that life is beautiful despite the world being ugly right now.
Yeah, I love that. And then I'll add that with our lives, there are things that are out of our control and they're in our control. And from a money perspective, right, the stock market, we can't control. Tariffs wreaked havoc in April on the markets. Things have recovered. It's been a strong year. Market timing never wins. It's slow and steady investing, but what you can control is your savings and your expenses. Those are things in your control. So focus in little steps. It may be just saving $50 a paycheck into savings. Maybe things are tight, you can't save it all. Well, you'll work on improving the situation as you can, but take little steps. And the other quote that a psychiatrist I've worked with always shared with me was reality is your friend. So you want to pay attention to what the numbers are saying in business and in life and love, right? Look, if the red flags are there, look at them. Don't ignore them.
Of course. And I'm gonna be a little cheeky here. I'm gonna say strike a balance between reality and delusion, because we all need a little bit more delusion in knowing and trusting that there are literal, and you're not gonna like this, so earmuffs. There is literal infinite money in this world if we choose to see that. There's trillions and trillions of dollars happening in the world all day, every day. Why can't some of it be yours? So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
have some delusion, have some reality,
yeah.
Balance it out, and you get to play with what works for you. Because I tell you what, the moment that you start to play and be a little delusional, you'll be shocked at how much, whether it be money or well-being or dogs or whatever you want more of, like, you'll be amazed at how much it comes in and quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. But abundant. I mean, there's so many folks out there that speak to it, and it does flow from, it's hard work, but you do need to be in that mindset to bring it in.
Yeah. I get to earn money. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Treasa, as we start to wind down, there was a scary stat several years ago about the amount of women in domestic partnerships that had either no awareness or no access to their financials. And then, something happens to their partner, or there's a divorce or something, or a separation, and then they're left completely with nothing. Has that stat improved? Have you found, or like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know, but I don't think it's gotten much better than it has been. One of the organizations that I do support is the Lilac Tree. They're based in Evanston, so plug for them, for anyone going through a divorce that needs financial resources, legal resources. It's a great gem of a place with tons of access to professionals that volunteer their time to share resources with the public, primarily women. But yeah, it's hard. And, again, women need to step up too. We can't just say, my husband's taking care of it, I don't need to pay attention to this. We need to be stepping up, and is extremely empowering once you do that. And, you don't have to become an expert. There are advisors out there to help you, to guide you, but you need to be knowledgeable and aware and know what's going on, because people get divorced, they die unexpectedly. And it's best to try to prepare, as best you can. And again, that's something in your control. Ask the questions, get educated.
Treasa, where can we find you and support your work?
Yeah, my company, again, I'm Anchor Point Wealth Advisors. You can go to my website, learn more about me and my services, contact information. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Thanks, Treasa. Closing remarks as we wrap up.
Get empowered. It's within our reach. Our money stories don't have to be scary. Some of those may not have served us well throughout our life, but you can overcome the emotional baggage that block you from success and confidence. And you can make decisions that align with your values. Just spend time and the work getting to know you and, what makes your heart sing, and the money will flow.
Thanks, Treasa.
Thanks, Amy.